On this episode, we'd like to welcome Kelly Quindlen to the podcast. She's the author of queer YA novels She Drives Me Crazy, Late to the Party, Her Name in the Sky, and the forthcoming This Must Be the Place. We talked about the evolution of queer characters, we talked about high school crushes, and we talked about women's sports, because everyone watches women's sports. Peach, say hi. Hi, Peach.
Unfortunately, we're pretty sure that she's straight, so I don't know how she ended up with a couple of lesbian moms, but we love her anyway.
Yeah, like, let her be who she is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We love you anyway. We're going to do all the things. Okay.
We're going to try it.
Let's do this. Welcome to the podcast, Kelly Quindlen. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Let's talk. First of all, I have a question. Are you a millennial?
Oh, I am like sweet spot millennial.
Excellent.
I'm like textbook definition of a millennial.
Okay, tell me what that means, because I feel like there's varying levels of what a millennial is. So give me your textbook.
So I feel like the sweet spot millennial is, do you have at least a vague memory of Clinton being in office?
Check.
And like, even if you don't really remember much about it, can you remember him being the president?
I mean, I had to do a
And
book
then-
report on it. So yeah.
Yeah. And then were you at kind of a formative age when 9/11 happened? That's kind of like a dark litmus test, but
Yeah.
I do kind of think that's it. And then also, what are your touchstone movies from that time?
Mm-hmm.
So my cousins and me and like all my friend group, it's, Mean Girls, A Cinderella Story, Bring It On, all of those movies. So to me, that's a millennial. My youngest sister was born in 1996, and I feel like she's just after the millennial wave.
It's too late. She doesn't get
Yeah.
it.
Interesting. I like how you framed it around like external events versus a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of like keeping the parameters around 1982 to whatever. I think we need to continue this. Bill Clinton,
The
9/11,
millennial combo.
and then what are the movies?
Yeah. All those
Yes.
heteronormative, like rom-coms.
Although I go to the Scream series. Scream feels very millennial to
Yeah.
me.
I think of like, Gen X had their John Hughes movies,
Yep.
and we had
Yeah.
John Tucker Must Die and the Lizzie McGuire movie.
She's all that.
And She's All That, anything Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
And we also, in my opinion, had a very particular relationship with the internet, because we grew up with the internet being there, but it didn't become part of our everyday lives until we were already at an age where we knew how to live without it.
Right.
I'd say the same thing for cell phones. So like, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 14. And that felt so young to get a cell phone. But then my sister, who was born in 96, she had a cell phone when she was like 8.
Right.
So,
I was
when she was,
16. My 8-year-old is like, when am I getting a phone? I'm like, when you can drive. So that was the rule in my house. And that
Yeah.
feels good to me.
Yeah.
I was 18.
Sometimes I think that I have more in common with my parents' growing up experiences than I do with my youngest sister and my younger cousins.
Yeah.
I had more of the like, go out and play in the backyard and there's no way to get in touch with you other than screaming for you.
Yep.
And that's different from kids born in the late 90s, early 2000s and on.
Agreed. So here, let me roll this millennial question into, I really wanted to do this episode because I'm always talking about how I feel like there are more millennial women reading young adult novels these days than probably there are young adults. That's based on no science whatsoever. Although I did find a study by Words Rated that said over half of YA book buyers are over 18, with a substantial portion being between 30 and 44 years old. These adults often purchase YA books for their own reading pleasure. So I want to talk to you about that, because you are a queer YA writer. So what do you think is happening?
I remember coming across that stat when I first started writing YA back in like 2012. And I was kind of like, okay, who is this book for? And that statistic of like over half of the readers are not teenagers, that still holds true. It's hard to know, like, is that just a millennial thing, or is it just we are the current generation that's like in our 30s and we happen to be reading them? Because most people would agree that like the very first quote unquote YA novel was The Outsiders
Mm.
by S.E. Hinton. And she was like a teenager as she wrote it. But I think a lot of people older than adolescents were the early readers of that book.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's, goodness, what is the word I'm looking for? There's a TV show called it where you're stuck in adolescence. The Jason Bateman show.
Arrested Development.
Thank you.
Oh,
I think a lot of us
there
have
you
some
go.
arrested development. Yeah. And for millennials, is it like, do we have arrested development because the acceleration of technology was so insane and exponential and overhauled so much of our world within a short period of time? Is that why we have this kind of arrested development and we want to go back to that formative time? Or is it outside of millennials, is everybody like that?
Right.
I think it's hard to explain to current teenagers that once you have been a teenager, then even when you do become an adult and you become more rooted in yourself and you do become capable of adult things and you have a fully grown brain and you do pay taxes and you do go to work, that it is still so easy to remember an adolescent mindset. Anytime you walk into a new place, it's the cafeteria, lunch table question all over again. And that can come up very quickly, I think, and break through all of the work you've done as an adult and put you right back to being 15 years old.
Right. You just never really get out of high school.
Yes, in some ways, yeah. And I also think teenagers there is something so powerfully raw about them and unnerving, like both in a good way and a bad way about teenagers, regardless of what generation we're talking about. But the way teenagers can look at you and make you feel like they could eviscerate you with a single look or like laughing behind their hand. Like I still feel that way if I walk past a group of teens. And my siblings and I were laughing when we were on vacation earlier this summer because we were at the Jersey Shore and we were walking down the boardwalk and this group of teenage girls walked by and they are now recycling the outfit choices that we had when we were in the early 2000s, right? That's all coming back. So they're recycling the outfits. So it's stuff we've seen before. But the way they walk past you and they're kind of like clearly talking about you, making fun of you, whatever. My brother-in-law, who's a 35-year-old man, he looked at us and he said, "Oh, I just got chills." Because that's kind of the raw power that teenagers have, that, you know, they're just so in tune with what they think and feel at all times. And so I think that there's a draw there that makes us go back to that headspace. And we want to see that in reading. And we want to go back to this time period of when everything in your life is based on relationships. It's not based on these mundane things like the alarm going off and pouring your coffee and doing your morning commute and doing your job and paying taxes and all of the little things that take up so much brain space as an adult. I think a lot of us want to escape back into when we lived at home and everything in the world hinged on romance and who was pursuing who and what was going on with your friends, and issues of the heart just seemed so much bigger. We didn't have to like compartmentalize them back then to get through the day.
Yeah, I also feel like I love reading queer YA because I didn't have that experience in high school.
Mhm.
So now as a queer person, I'm like reading and watching all the shows. I'm like, give me those little queer love stories of these teenagers falling for each other and coming out and finding themselves. Sometimes that just feels like so just good to read. There's so much bad out there. So I'm like, all right, give me these happy stories.
That's 100% it. I mean, a lot of us who are queer people had a delayed adolescence. I was not out in high school, even to myself. And so when I finally did come out in my early to mid 20s, I was so hungry for kind of a do-over in a sense, but to put myself back in that headspace and imagine this is what it could have been like for me if I hadn't had all of these internal and external factors that were keeping me in the closet.
Yeah, I also did not have, even when I was in my early 20s, there was not a lot of reading. There was not a lot of
Mhm.
queer fiction out there. I remember desperately trying to find things to read, and there was not a lot out there. So yeah, again, as you said, this arrested development of now that there is so much of it, I am loving it.
Yeah, we've been spoiled. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's almost like when you're a teenager, to your point about the getting rid of the mundane and just focusing on yourself. It's this very egocentric point of view that I get super jealous about all the time. I even tell my son, he's not a teenager yet, but you have it so good. You have nothing to worry about. I mean, I was outed in high school. Actually, I should tell you my story offline so you can write about it because it's a wild story.
I'm so sorry.
But it's okay. I think what it did is it accelerated that experience for me. So even though it was kind of painful in that acute moment, over time, I was already in the queer community by the time I was like 18 or 19 and I got to college and I was very in it. So the arrested development part, it just wasn't applicable in my case. And I also don't seek out the YA stories as much because I lived it.
Yeah. It does make me wonder, like today's generation, I do not subscribe to this belief that like homophobia doesn't exist anymore for today's teens. It absolutely does. And transphobia and biphobia and all of that. But I do think it is talked about a lot more. And there are more people who are out in high school. And it does make me wonder, will we see these same rates of arrested development in queer Gen Z people as they grow up, Gen Z and Gen Alpha?
Yeah, they have more media representation to point to. Even
we
though
did not have media representation.
Nothing. We had Ellen, and I remember watching Ellen getting destroyed.
And every movie that we were going to see had derogatory gay jokes in it.
Yeah.
There were not queer characters. And if there were, they were getting slammed into lockers.
Yeah.
Or they died.
Or, they like to kill the queers. Let's talk about some books we love. What are you reading? What do you love to read?
Oh my gosh. I like to read a mix of young adults and then adult fiction and memoirs and things like that. I'm in the middle of Brittany Griner's memoir right now. Which I'm a huge WNBA fan, and BG plays
Liberty.
Oh yeah, okay. So I live in Atlanta. I'm a big Atlanta Dream fan, and BG is like new to us this year, and she's been killing it. So I'm reading her memoir right now, which is really insane. And there's of course a lot of intersectionality there about being a queer person. But I'm also reading. Also basketball related, I finished Dawn Staley's book that came out a couple months ago. South Carolina women's basketball head coach. She's one of my role models. And then fiction-wise, I'm in the middle of blurbing a book for an upcoming writer named Birdie Shea. She is writing a sapphic autistic summer camp love story that's been really good so far.
Fun.
Yeah, it's her debut. So she asked me to blurb it. So I've just started reading that. And what else do I have on tap? I mean, I always have like 10 different books that I want to be reading that I maybe haven't started. My fiance and I, our house is just overflowing with books and we just keep getting more. Like every little free library, every Decatur Library book sale, every time we go to Half Price Books or Barnes & Noble, like we're always buying more books. But I do really like that saying that's like, having a bookshelf is like a wine cellar. You're just keeping the books there until like you're ready for them. So that's the philosophy we try and live by.
Are you a fan of Jandy Nelson? I love her books.
Yes.
They're so...
Yes. And Nina LaCour too, who I believe they're friends. And Nina LaCour is one of my absolute favorites. And her adult debut was Yerba Buena. And that was one of the first books that my fiance and I read kind of like in tandem and talked about together. So we have some wall art from that book hanging in our sunroom. Yeah.
I also love TJ Klune. Anything he writes, I want to read because he just takes these like classic stories sometimes and makes them so queer. And I always know they're going to be really weird and they're going to have a happy ending. And I am here for it.
You're there for the happy ending.
I'm there for the happy ending. Yeah.
His books are like chicken noodle soup. Like they're funky, but like you know, the house in the Cerulean Sea or by the Cerulean Sea. I mean, that one just like filled my well.
Yes.
So much.
You just finish it and you're like, I feel good again.
was
Yeah.
What's better than reading something that makes you feel
I also
good
think
again?
it would be a good series, like a TV series.
I know you think so. I don't think that's
do.
happening
I
ever.
know. It'd
But
be
what
so
do I
cute.
know? I don't know anything.
Who knows?
I mean, we have an embarrassment of riches, and that's how it should be. Like,
Exactly.
that's what straight people have always had, you know? And now
Exactly.
we get to be like, well, I don't really like that book. Well, I don't really like that book, you know? But it's, I do love like the sports and queerness overlap that's going on a
Hold
lot
on.
right now.
I have to ask you a question. Are
Yes.
you Scotty?
I am not. Scotty is like very like me in a lot of ways.
Okay.
She's definitely more of an asshole than I am. I have like more of Honeybell's like earnestness and sensitivity and stuff. I'm not as like wacky as Honeybell, but there's definitely some of me in every protagonist I write.
I love that.
And Scotty's family is a lot like my family. Like she's got the two sisters and I have two sisters and we're very close. And her two sisters are kind of modeled in a way after my two sisters. One of them is like ferocious and snarky and, you know, at times annoying with how right she can be about stuff. And then the other one is like really sweet, really supportive, really empathetic. Well, Annie was more like that when she was younger, but I wrote Daphne based on like what Annie was like when she was Daphne's age. So
I love that.
yeah.
That's great.
And I was not good at basketball. So there's that difference too.
So we have a controversial book that, what was it, last summer?
Yeah.
Flew around our friend group like wildfire.
It flew around my straight friend groups too.
Everyone. It was, and it's like the hottest topic of not only just the queerness in it, but also the middle-agedness of it. But Miranda July's All Fours. I'm assuming
I actually don't know about
this. So now you
add
need
it
to
to
put
your
this
list.
to
It's
your pile.
batshit crazy.
The craziest. And it's
So who were you hearing about it more from? Your queer friends or your straight friends?
I learned from you. So.
My queer friends, and then my very straight friend started a book club with very straight, like uppity group of other straight women. And she was like, I chose this book for the first book. They're going to know who I am right away. And it got people talking because it's the kind of book like I was a few chapters in and I wanted to throw it across the room because but if you are someone who enjoys Miranda July's art, you already know that it's going to probably make you feel a little crazy and you're going to love it and hate it all at the same time.
I
and
wasn't
that's what
prepared.
it did.
It brought up lots of feelings, but I couldn't put it down. So I
Yeah.
guess it's
It's going to take you places that you don't necessarily want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not read that one or even really heard my friends talking about it.
Really?
So I'm going to have to look into this now. Yeah, I did finish, last month I finished reading Taylor Jenkins Reid's new one, Atmosphere, which I really loved. I thought it was really beautifully done. And the love story between the two women I thought was...
I haven't read that one and I've read a lot of
it put a catch in my throat. There's some like really good ones out right now. I also just got A Sharp Endless Need, which is about basketball players coming out in high school, I believe. But I'm really excited to read that one. And God, there's so many. I should have like come prepared with a list because I get asked this question a lot.
Yeah,
and it
I'm
makes
sure
me
everyone always
freeze
wants to
up.
know, like, what are you reading? Who do you love? Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
all be with people I've never met. And they're like, well, you're a writer. What do you recommend? Or what do you? And I'm like, when they ask you what you're reading, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I'm reading like a palate cleanser and I'm embarrassed to tell you what it is.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
sometimes I just want to like get lost in it. So I was actually talking, there's a bookstore up here in the Hudson Valley called Page and Petals. And the owner, Jackie Levon, I was talking to her about this episode that we're doing and how I was so excited to have you. And she runs an all fiction bookstore and it's really cute. And she said that, what did she say here? That they are seeing the most sales in romance and YA. And right now the best-selling book in the store is a queer novel called Blue Sisters, which I am not familiar with. But yeah, she told me that her YA novels, her queer novels, they're just selling really well and that she's seeing all these debut authors coming in with queer YA novels and doing really well. I just think that's so exciting that that's happening because this isn't even a bookstore in like a super gay little town either, right?
Yeah.
And it's still happening.
There's something about like queer people and bookstores as like a safe space and a space that draws us. Because my fiance and I were down in South Georgia last month. We had a new nephew was born, her first nephew, and like collectively our third nephew. And so we're down in Valdosta, Georgia, which is like a very small town. It's kind of near the Florida border. And before we got there, Mary was like, I think we should be careful, like maybe not openly hold hands. Like we don't really know how the reception is going to be. Just, that conversation you have with your partner when you're going into an unknown area. And it did feel like a very traditional heteronormative space. But the one time I felt the most comfortable was we went over to this little strip mall and they had a Books-A-Million there. And it was like a big warehouse style Books-A-Million in the middle of this strip mall next to like a Japanese place and the pet store. And that was like the one place that I saw queer paraphernalia and flags. And they had like a bunch of queer books and a lot of my friends' books. And then Mary went and looked in the YA section and found a copy of She Drives Me Crazy.
Yay.
And she's like, oh, can you sign this? Like, ask them if you can sign it. And I almost always do that when I go in a bookstore because it helps, especially indie bookstores, like it helps them move product more and whatnot. But this particular night, I said, I don't know, I'm really tired. Like we were at the hospital with the baby all day. Like I don't really want to basically I didn't have any like extroverted energy left to like be introducing myself to the manager. But she said, please do it. Like it could really mean a lot to a queer kid living in small town South Georgia if they were to find this. And I said, okay, you're right. So then we went and we met the owner, or not the owner, but the manager. And he was so nice. And he got me a Sharpie and I signed it. And I think they were going to like put it on the counter or something so that, readers could find it. But I felt safe like outing myself in that space, in that bookstore. And so all of that to say, I don't know what it is about bookstores that they're almost like cathedrals, I think.
Yes.
For queer people.
Queer
like
cathedrals.
Oh my God,
Yes.
They
that's
are.
so
My
right.
cousins and I joke, we call it going to church anytime we go to the bookstore. And all my cousins, they're all straight, but we grew up with a grandmother who was always reading. Like family vacation, she was reading every day, ankles crossed on the foot of the couch. And so we all read too. And anytime anybody has a bad day, it's like, okay, well, you need to go to church. And then we send a picture of us like from Barnes and Noble or like the local indie store or whatever.
I love this.
And anyway, I think a lot of queer people identify with that.
Yes.
I do for sure. I'm obsessed with
Absolutely.
bookstores. Obsessed.
I am a big library user because I just can't handle the collection of books I would have. But I cannot go into like the bookstore I mentioned, Page and Pedals. I can't go into a bookstore and not end up buying a queer YA right now, mostly. Or just anything queer. I gotta.
Well, you know what? Even if I don't end up liking it, like sometimes I'll buy a book and it's queer or it's just something I'm interested in. And I won't like I'll be like, I don't actually like this. I'm not going to finish it. I've really been practicing letting go of books when I don't want to keep reading them. Because, it's like, it's so hard. You get really like perfectionistic and completionist about it. And I'm trying to be like, no, I'm going to read things that I'm actually excited about. So it's okay if I don't finish this. But then I can go put it in a little free library. And at least that way, the industry sees these books are moving. These books are selling. Maybe it wasn't for me, but
it's for someone.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can go, put it in a little free so somebody can access it and read it.
Yeah. I was actually just I was talking to someone who they were like, oh, I'm reading this book and I hate it. They were like, but I have to finish it. You can't stop reading a book. And I was like, oh, actually, was it you? Wasn't you?
I don't know, but I do all the time.
No, and I was like, oh, in the past few years, I finally, because I used to do the same thing and I would keep reading. And then I was like, life is short. My time is valuable. If this isn't for me, it doesn't mean it's not for someone else. And I give myself permission to stop reading this and move on to something I'm going to enjoy.
Yes. I think one of those small things that can make a really big difference in not only like your stress levels, but your joy levels.
Right. Getting through a book shouldn't be work. It should be the thing you look forward to. Like, oh my God, I can't wait to get into bed and read my book. Like, that's the best.
Okay, so
feeling.
the last one for me was Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil. That was so good.
I know you
Yeah.
like, could not stop
It
talking
was
about
like
it's
lesbian vampires are no
Oh,
joke.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Lesbian. I mean, vampire
Really-
books are sexy anyway, so
Yeah.
make them
well,
lesbians.
The interesting part about it was it's kind of like what I liked about your book is that it's the tension, right? You have these two characters, you know what's going to happen. You're not like over sexualizing that tension. It doesn't have to be so blatant. That's what's sexy about it, right? Is just understanding.
That's why we liked Meryl's first book so much. It was because it was like the slow burn.
Oh my God, the slow burn. That's exactly what it is. But this is like, vampires. So it's like hundreds of years. So it's
That's a slow burn.
It's so good. I mean, I am so into the slow burn.
Hey, it's Laura from Unseen. Are you looking to shop queer brands and support our show? Find us on pinkrobinshop.com.
Okay, take us through your headspace when you're writing, okay? Because you're a millennial. So when you're trying to take yourself back to that like teenage mindset to write these characters, are you writing for the characters? Are you writing for your intended audience? Like walk us through what that's like for you.
I intentionally do not write for my intended audience because I think it works for some people. It does not work for me. It makes me too self-conscious and self-aware. And I think I just lose some of the like earnestness if I'm trying to write to somebody or for somebody. So I only write for myself, things that I remember, emotions that I remember. And I also often tell other writers as well as current teenagers, I don't write for whoever is a teenager right now. I think being an adolescent, being a teenager is a universal experience that continues generation to generation. And the group that's a teenagers right now are not going to be in a few years. And then it'll be like another cohort coming up. And so you can't hold on to the lingo, the slang, the technology, like whatever it is that might differentiate them. But I think what you can hold on to that's universal for teenagers is the feeling of being misunderstood, the feeling of longing for something, the feeling of like your heart being bigger than your body, that kind of stuff. I can kind of like mine myself for that emotional history and pull that out. And occasionally listening to like music from when we grew up can be really helpful as well.
Oh God, music was everything, right? When you were a teen. And also just that feeling of everything being the biggest thing that could ever happen. Every fight was the fight, right? Like
you're so in the moment.
Yeah, because there's nothing. You are the center of your
else.
universe.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did I ever feel sad in a world where I didn't pay a mortgage? I didn't have to put a kid to bed.
No responsibility.
I didn't have to do laundry constantly. Like, what was I worried about?
And time was so slow then too.
Yeah.
Like the days were so much fuller. The seasons seemed so much longer. I mean, now as an adult, it's like, oh, you're emailing about work. And they're like, okay, let's circle back to that in 3 weeks. And when you're a teenager, you're like, wow, 3 weeks is like forever. Like you could have 2 more crushes in the span of 3 weeks. But as an adult, you're like, oh, 3 weeks. Okay. And it happens like that.
And you're like, I hope I get that done. Yeah. I also, to this day, fall to me always has the feeling of a new beginning because it's just ingrained in me. School starting, the new year, the new year in school. So for me, the second autumn hits, it's like new beginnings, this excitement of what's coming next, right? And it doesn't matter how long I've been away from that being the cycle. It's just there. Tell us about Her Name in the Sky. Okay. So that was your first published novel, right?
Yes.
And that was semi-autobiographical. So tell us how that came about.
So your question comes at a really good time because Macmillan and I have been working to reissue it this coming January 2026. I have 2 books coming out in 2026. One of them comes out in June, and that's like my new book, my 4th book, and that's called This Must Be the Place. And then the one in January is a reissue of my first book, Her Name in the Sky. And Hannah and Baker, the teen like love interests and Her Name in the Sky are featured in This Must Be the Place as thriving 30-something queer women
I love
living out
this.
and proud in their
Yay.
town, and they're engaged. So because they were coming back as secondary characters in the new book, I said to Macmillan, I had said a few years ago, do you guys want to re-release this? And they're like, well, we're not sure. Because, you know, typically you don't republish something that's already been published. But because Baker and Hannah were coming back, they were like, actually, yeah, let's look into reissuing this and we can add an epilogue and all this stuff. So I went through the novel that I first started writing in 2012 when I was 23. And I went through it this past winter and changed. I don't want to be dramatic because I don't want to freak anyone out, but I upgraded the writing, I would say. The plot is entirely the same. There are no new characters. There are no characters who've been taken away. It's all the same stuff, but I kind of just like enhanced it, if you will. And then there's an epilogue at the end of the new version that takes place on the morning of Hannah and Baker's wedding day. And that epilogue will then tie into This Must Be the Place, which comes out in June. So that was a really cool experience because Her Name in the Sky was the book I wrote as my kind of catharsis to come out as someone who grew up in a religious Irish Catholic family, went to Catholic school all my life, and really struggled with coming out. And so when I was 23 and in the midst of navigating how to tell my family and all of this, I started writing that book because at the time there was not much YA queer fiction at all. And the stuff we did have, only some of it was good. And none of it really tackled the issue of growing up as like a person of faith or in a religious tradition and navigating that with what you now know to be like your sexuality and how to reconcile those two things. So that's what Her Name in the Sky is about. It's a teenage girl named Hannah. She's a senior in high school. It's her last semester. She's looking forward to graduation, but she's also angsty about graduation, and she's trying to choose a college, and she's sad about leaving her best friends. And then at the same time, she's like falling for her best friend, who is another girl. And she's really grappling with that in the context of their Catholic school, their Catholic community in conservative Louisiana. So yeah. And the one thing I always say about it is that it has a happy ending. They do end up together. And I always made that very clear from the time I first published it in 2014, because there was a dearth of queer media and a lot of it did end in heartbreak or death or both. So I've always been very clear, like, this book will make you cry. It will be hard to get through. It will be angsty. There's some really deep self-reflection in there, but you will have a happy ending. And now that happy ending is kind of coming to fruition twice, because we'll get the epilogue on the morning of their wedding, and then we'll get to see them again in book 4 as 30-something fiancés.
I love that.
Love that.
Okay, it's on the list. I have a question.
So
So
exciting.
you mentioned, it's interesting now knowing your background, right? My wife is also grew up Irish Catholic and Catholic school.
There's a lot of us. We breed a lot.
So many. You're my favorites, though. Obviously, I married one. You said you didn't really know in high school, right? It took you a while to come out. But did you have like really close female friendships during high school where you just like had this one best friend and you guys were obsessed with each other? And then you'd have another best friend, and like the depth of your relationship was all that mattered. Was it like that? Or
Yes, 100%.
I feel like
And
that's
it was
a common experience for a lot of us during that time.
I feel like girls can get away with lying to ourselves that way too,
Yeah.
because we're allowed to have these like deep emotional friendships and affectionate friendships. And so you can like explain it away. You can excuse it. You can be like, oh, she just understands me so well. And like, we've cried together so many times, and like the depth of emotion can be there with a girlfriend. And if we're talking in like traditional gender binary, like boys are not allowed that. They are not afforded that in the same way. So yeah, I mean, I explained it away a lot. And I can remember like having a crush on a girl in my preschool class
Oh, wow.
but I didn't realize that's what it was. I just like wanted to be around her.
You were just
And
drawn to
then-
her, yeah.
Yeah. And my sister Kim said, because she's less than 2 years younger than me. She said that when we were growing up, she knew that I was different with my friends than she was with hers, but she didn't know how to articulate what the difference was.
Right.
Because she
Okay.
was like 6 and I was 8. Right.
Crazy.
But yeah, all through high school and college, there was always like the intense female friendships where you're like just waiting for that one person to sign on AIM, but it's only because you're just really excited to talk to them about what happened in math class today.
Just
You know,
all
Oh my
night.
God, I remember the sound.
oh yeah, and I
The
would set
notification,
the
alerts for like
dial-up.
certain people that I was looking forward to like hearing, you know, because
The
you
door
have the squeaky
creaking.
door when it'd be like when someone would sign
Obsessed.
on, but you could do like a specific one,
For the
like
person.
a specific chime for somebody that you were waiting on. And I remember like bolting into my dad's office when I heard like that specific sound for this one girl that I had a crush on.
The family
But of course,
computer.
I wouldn't
in the
admit that that's what
office.
it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course not. It's also funny that you were talking about how you could get away with being closer with girls because female friendships are more intense. My parents had this rule in my house growing up, and it only applied to my sister and brother because I never brought anyone of the opposite sex home, that you were not allowed to have your significant other sleep in the room with you when they started staying over. And I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
we must have been in our 20s. So the first time my wife, Sam, stayed over, my mom comes and sneaks her into my bed that night. And we're in college. And I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, we're not allowed to do this. And she's like, oh, Laura Lee, all of your girlfriends sleep in your room. And I'm like, well, I have sex with this one. Like, she just like, it's like she knew we were together in a different way, but she still just couldn't like quite acknowledge. And Sam's like, just don't ask questions. Let her sneak me in here. This is great. So yeah, so we got away with a little more.
So when that happened in my family, because Kim brought home, she married her high school sweetheart. And so he was coming around and it was always like, Sean, you're going to sleep in a different room.
Mhm.
Right. No questions asked. And then when Annie brought Nathan around, same thing. But like when I started bringing girls around, because I didn't like bring anyone home until I was like in my mid to late 20s, I think my parents were like, what do we do here? And then
Yeah.
my mom was kind of like, fuck it. And I don't know if some of that was my age or because I was the oldest or whatever, but she was like, whatever, your girlfriend can sleep in the same room with you. And my sisters kind of like jokingly protested it.
Yeah, same.
My mom was like, whatever, like they deserve some gay privileges. They don't get enough in the real world. So they can
Yeah.
have this gay privilege.
I
at
love
home.
that.
We're going to
Yeah.
get more rights here if they're not going to get equal rights out there.
Exactly.
Okay, quick quickies, rapid fire questions. Don't think about it too much. First thing that comes to your head, okay?
Okay.
First celebrity crush.
Oh, Miss Honey from Matilda.
Oh, damn. That tracks.
So good.
That tracks.
Probably like Jasmine at the end of Aladdin when Jafar has her like in the hourglass and she's like trapped in there.
Oh,
I
I
don't
feel
know
like
why,
this is
but
a
I-
psychology
Tell
thing.
us more.
Yeah.
Could be.
Did you want to break her out of it, or
I just meant more like the outfit she was wearing in that scene. I
She's
was
just
like,
sad. I mean,
out
that
of
outfit.
this kid.
Jasmine was pretty hot that entire time. I'm not going to lie. So
Mhm.
I get it. Okay. What's the first queer bar you ever went to?
It was not a good one. I was living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at the time. I was teaching, and there's not like a huge queer population there. We went to a place called George's, which was actually really fun. And it was a gay bar. And then there was like a lesbian bar across the way. And my friend was like, do you want me to take you? Because I was like really nervous. And so we went, and I just was like super out of my depth. And this older lesbian tried to hit on me by like throwing a piece of food at me to get my attention.
Oh,
That's what the
that's a
lesbians
tactic.
do.
I don't remember what that place was called, but yeah, she threw like a French fry or something at me when I was standing in the corner of the room, and my friend was like, "Okay, let's go. Like we're out of
The
here."
fries here suck.
Oh my God. Okay. What is the one stereotype about queer women you secretly love?
The Subaru thing. I drive a Subaru and I
that's-
love it.
That's great.
Mhm.
What is your queer superpower?
Empathy.
Oh,
Elaborate.
Well, I think that when you grow up in any minority experience, but especially if other people like in your family of origin can't relate to that minority experience, I think it makes you more empathetic naturally. I think things that we've had to keep hidden inside and reckon with and integrate within ourselves creates more room in our hearts for other people who are going through that. I'm naturally an empathetic person anyway, but I do think that being queer and being in the closet and then coming out of the closet and feeling so exposed that way, I do think it increased my natural tendency to empathize with other people.
Great answer.
Love that.
Still killing it.
Okay, what makes you go from 0 to unhinged?
In like what sense?
Any sense. Like for me, it could be dishes in the sink or
Our last
like-
guests took it to like a sexual place, so you could really take it anywhere.
anywhere. Open-ended.
Probably in consideration, particularly to service people.
Oh yeah. When someone's rude to the
time.
wait staff and you're like, I will flip this fucking table.
That's
Or
our other guests
or like
said
a
that.
gate agent at the airport.
Best queer movie or show doesn't have to be directly queer. It could be queer coded. Like Gilded Age, I feel is a little queer coded.
I did just watch Broadchurch. Have you guys ever watched Broadchurch?
No.
It sounds really familiar.
It's a British like crime, like procedural thing. And it's not queer. It's actually like, mostly
yes,
mostly
her.
Yeah, Olivia Colman. She's in it, and David Tennant.
She's the
However,
best.
in season 2, there was a lawyer, and she was an older woman, and she was kind of giving the vibe. And my fiance and I were like, she's got to be in the family. Like, this woman screams like she's in the family. And they never showed her personal life and all this stuff. And then at one point, and you have to remember, this woman is like a badass like prosecutor. Like, she has like Holland Taylor energy where you want to be like, yeah, step on me. Like, you're amazing. And so we're going through this whole season. And then this character, she has this moment where somebody asks her about her love life. And she's like, she intimates that there's a one that got away, that she didn't say something and this person got away. And again, Mary and I are like, she's a lesbian. She is a lesbian. She's in the family. Fast forward to like the very end of the season, she finally has her like reconciling moment and kiss with the editor of the local paper, who's another older woman.
Nice.
But it was also really beautiful because I've never seen such a tender, dignified, respectful, earned moment between two older women. You know, we don't usually allow that in media representation. And so it was really cool for me also watching that and thinking like, if you're someone who comes out later in life and you haven't had your first kiss with a woman yet, how meaningful would that be to watch these like 60-something women have this really tender, poignant kiss by the seaside?
So we asked about your best queer movie or show, but you're a writer. So what's your favorite book to TV or film adaptation?
I thought the adaptation of Love, Simon was really good. I thought the adaptation of Red, White, and Royal Blue was great.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
I actually saw
I
the
love
movie
that.
before I read the book, and so I preferred the movie, which never happens. Yeah. I loved the book Dante and Aristotle Discover the Secrets of the Universe. And nobody knows about the movie adaptation. I was all alone I was literally the only person in the theater when I went to see it. This was like 2 years ago, and it is so beautiful.
I still keep
And
forgetting.
I don't even know if it's streaming anywhere. It is so incredible, and it's so beautiful.
I still need to see that because I love that book. And
it really did the
mentions-
book justice. It was so perfectly done.
Well, that's saying a lot because that was a gorgeous book.
Yes.
And the author used to be a priest. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
He's another one of my like Catholic queer friends. I mean, I
Yes.
don't know him, but like, you know, I'm like, hey, buddy, like, I feel you on the trauma.
Yeah. Thanks to Kelly Quindlen for geeking out with us about queer books and coming-of-age stories. And thanks to you for listening to Unseen, Queer Millennial Life Unfiltered. Don't forget to subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast is powered by Pink Robin. Follow us on social media at Pink Robin Shop.